Alright, good morning YouTube. So, I had the apparently fairly common issue of really slow fuel filling on my 2002 Dodge. It's got the Cummins diesel in it. And I mean like half hour or 45 minutes at the fuel pump. It was awful. And you know, you're just barely trickling fuel in and it would drive you crazy. And read all the forums, and apparently there is, let's have a look here. On a lot of the trucks, mine's a little bit different, that's why I'm making this video. A lot of the trucks behind the door, there is like a rollover valve somewhere around this junction, according to what I read. I couldn't find one in there. So I took the fuel return line here loose and blew a little air into the tank, and I knew that the vapor wasn't blocked. So you can check that if you have slow fuel fill. Make sure that your vapor return isn't blocked. You take that apart right there. Right there. Real easy. And I just blew a little air back into the tank real gently, like 10 psi regulated from an air compressor, and it came back up through the fill without any drama. So knowing that was open, I took this apart, and it was completely unobstructed. This, of course, is your fill, and it just shows up right there. So I opened this up. I didn't have any rollover or any ball valve in there. The idea is if the truck ends up upside down, all the fuel's supposed to stay in it. So I took it off the tank up in here. Well, I got no light, but anywho, so you take it off the tank and there's a flap way in there, spring loaded, and I could not get to it. Just couldn't do a thing about it from out here, and I'm not taking the tank down for it. So I'm going to show you the solution I came up with because it worked. This is a piece of leftover air hose. And I'm not really sure what made it become leftover, but it was laying around and about that long. So here's a little trick for you. You cut a slash on one end, and I went ahead and just threw a fitting on the other so I wouldn't lose it down the tank. What you do is, you obviously want to make sure it's clean, as in you didn't just put it on your driveway. Literally just shove that right down in. You just want to make a hose long enough to get into the fuel tank. Oh, see, I'm coming up against something. So with that slash, if I turn the hose just in a circle while I work on getting it in, turning it will let the slash find the obstruction and ride up over top of it, if that makes any sense. Anyways, I did this a bunch of times, and that little flap door just inside the tank out of reach apparently was gummy, because the last time I filled up with fuel it was lightning fast, just like it used to be. So there's your tip. If you're slow with your fuel fill, whether you've got a check valve here like some of these trucks or it's actually in the tank, slam that thing open and shut a few times if you can't get to it, and it'll probably work out, because it did for me. Have a good weekend, YouTube.